You said, leave, get out. I won't try to summarize, but a few things that I was struck by, I guess. I think our colleague from Chad, who I think has left the room, but I think often, at least in our worlds and think tanks, we talk about green transition and global financial architecture and economic transformation and all. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that people have access to clean water, access to health, healthy children, healthy mothers, etc. So I think it's worth us just centering ourselves back on that when we think about development. I was also struck a little bit, I forget who said it, someone said something about that development cooperation should be rooted in, I think the comment was in human rights. But whether it's rooted in human rights or in this morning's discussion was rooted in something that's not north-south and not south-south, or rooted in basic development, human development. We also, I think it's useful to as we root something, those who may also be gardeners, you need the right seeds, you need well-mended soil, you need water, you need sun, you need air, you need love sometimes to keep it going. And so I think it's useful as we end today, think about that this is a process that will take many iterations and will take many inputs to make it work. I do think there were a number of things that certainly for I think I can speak on behalf of the Future Development Cooperation Coalition writ large, a number of things that were very, very useful. So it's been, and these have already been mentioned, but the discussions around identity and some of the things that Mavis was just mentioning, but also the linkage between that identity and the implementation, and quality implementation. I think someone used the word competency, and also being in a data-driven, evidence-based system where that identity is based on competency, but is also the impact to be tracked and structured in a way that we can replicate. I was also, as someone said, struck by the relatively little focus on finance or the post-Bretton Woods or the Bretton Woods system, right? Yeah, there was a mention of the World Bank. I'm not too sure I mentioned them directly. Mention of the World Bank, a mention of the African Union, etc. But the conversation wasn't about that, and I think that's quite instructive as well. Again, we sometimes get caught up in all of these acronyms and institutions and so forth. Maybe it's time just to move on and not focus on them. And then finally, related to the lack of focus on finance, I found in many different of the conversations, the discussion of private sector I found very interesting, because over, I would say, the past 20 years or so, there's been this discussion of a private sector-led development, and that's not what I think we heard generally today. Roles for the private sector, absolutely, maybe public-private partnerships, the role of entrepreneurs and innovators of creating the ecosystem and so forth, but not necessarily a private sector-led development. So those were a few of my takeaways. I think the earlier conversations and references to diversity and complexity, and here for those of us who are not from Morocco, I think thank you all very much, because I think we got a very unique perspective from a Moroccan perspective on many of these things, which is very helpful to us as well. As we close, I do want to say some thanks. There are two people in particular sitting right back there, Hamza and Rita, who have been many others from PCNS, but if it wasn't for the two of them, none of this would have ever happened, and we truly are grateful. Also grateful to PCNS for hosting us and for the university hosting us on this campus. So, do you want me to give directions? Okay. So, what will happen?
Rob,
yes.
Before you do,
Yes, please.
if you could touch on what's next,
Yes.
and also
sorry,
I'll open up to any questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
After that.